What I hear you saying is that trauma is stored on a cellular level, it's in our body, and that talking through it is not necessarily the remedy. The remedy is something physical, but how does that look?
There are 3 levels that need repair. And so we have our nervous system, and specifically our autonomic nervous system, where the trauma is actually stored. And it runs this constant background calculation of, am I safe or am I under threat? It's a subconscious calculation. It's happening every moment throughout our life. It's the job of our nervous system to keep us alive. It would be amazing for people to understand, like, what are those cues of danger that our body receives? What are the cues of safety? Because they're not necessarily what we would normally think of. Our own body is creating a feedback loop and giving signals of danger to our nervous system that say, we're still in danger. An obvious level is the mind. We can have self-talk and we can tell ourselves, you're stupid, Aimie. And that self-talk will be heard by my nervous system, and my nervous system will be like, oh, it sounds like we're under threat because we're stupid. The self-talk actually is important, but the other 2 levels are even more powerful. There is a body tissue level, which is involving the movement of our muscles. When we have been in danger and powerless to protect ourselves, our body retains that memory and it forms this belief, I'm incapable of hard things. So then when stressors come, even if we could actually respond to the challenge, our body says, oh, no, we're not capable of hard things. We should just shut down. So there's this element of stored body memory in terms of our movement and our ability to move through hard things versus just getting overwhelmed and getting stuck. The 3rd level, though, is the biology, and that's what you were referring to, which is the actual cellular level. And what happens is that as trauma impacts our cells and systems of our body, it disrupts our gut. It disrupts our mitochondria. It disrupts our hormones. It disrupts our cardiovascular system, our lymphatic system, our detoxification system. Because if we are needing to run from a tiger to survive right now is not the best time to be eating a meal and cleaning out our toxins and lymphatic system. And so all of those systems shut down, including our metabolism. When we go into a trauma response, one of those steps of the inner experience that we want to map out on this art narrative therapy that I took Miguel to is this shutting down in order to survive. Our metabolism shuts down in order to survive. This is where a lot of the fatigue and exhaustion comes from, where it's our body actually saying, I don't think you can do that much, but you're not listening to me, so I'm going to shut down and force you to do less, so that you won't go out and do all these things or follow your dreams. That then becomes a source of ongoing danger. When our cells and our systems don't get that reset to safety, our metabolism stays in this energy conservation mode. Our hormones remain imbalanced. Our digestive system becomes imbalanced and we develop all forms of dysbiosis or inflammation, changes in our digestive system that create more problems like nutrient deficiencies. And all of this together is now becoming a cue of danger to our nervous system, because our nervous system looks at our inner biology and says, ooh, look at all those toxins. Oh, look at that inflammation in the gut. Oh, did you see the inflammation in the brain? Did you see that imbalance of hormones? Do you see the mitochondrial compromise? Do you see the oxidative stress? And our nervous system is looking at all of that and saying, because of the damage that's still present in our biology, we don't have as big of a capacity. We need to stay small in order to try to stay safe. And this is literally how then we get stuck in our trauma patterns.
So you were suggesting then one of the forms of healing trauma is through functional medicine, is through actually healing your body.
This is what I'm saying. Like, it's a requirement. And that is why talk therapy, James, will never be enough, because you're only addressing one level with talk therapy. You're not addressing how trauma impacted your biology and the repair that is needed. And so what I started to see as a physician is that all of these people were coming in, they're telling me that they've done all these years of therapy, and yet their body is still impacted by their past. For me, that is not true healing. True healing is where you are living free of the effects of your past. Not that you've erased the past, but you're free of the effects of it. It's no longer holding you back. I'm seeing so many people with some physical health condition addiction, that is a result of stored trauma in their body, and they're still living with that impact. That is not a full and complete healing that I would like them to be able to have.
So when someone first comes to work with you, are you first focusing on identifying the trauma, or are you focusing on identifying the health issues?
What a great question. So here's the crazy thing. As I'm starting to learn all this, I am now faced with the question, well, what do I do with my patients? At this point, I had changed my career, so I'm no longer in general surgery residency. And then I moved to addiction medicine so that I can really work with trauma, because I felt that addiction is just one of the most clear examples of how trauma reinforces and becomes different patterns. So I'm working with my patients and I'm realizing, like, where do I even start? The mountain is so big. There is so much repair to do, especially with someone who's become dependent and addicted on substances. There is so much to do. Where do I even start? And if I try to throw it all at them, they're not successful at all and they get stuck. So I had to really practice and figure out, where am I starting with them? The craziest thing, James, I, as a physician, I'm thinking I need to start them with diet and supplements and lifestyle. No, actually, the most important place to start them that gave them the fastest results was teaching them how to shift their inner nervous system state. They're coming in, they're anxious, they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, and they don't know how to shift their own state. And I realized that if I could get them to learn 21 different exercises, somatic self-practices is what I call them, at home, they don't even need me to do this. They can learn how to shift their own inner state. They were experiencing more changes in their physical health than any other thing that I was prescribing. That doesn't stick. That doesn't last, because they still have their biology to repair. They still have their mindset and their self-talk to repair. I would have them learn how to shift their state, and then they would notice that throughout the day, it would fall back into stress and overwhelm. And that is normal. That's what is going to happen until you put the other pieces into place. And that's where I still see a lot of people, like, going to therapy. They experience relief when they're on the yoga mat. They experience relief when they're doing their meditation. But not long after they've left their mat, guess where their nervous system is back in survival mode, whether stress and anxiety or just the overwhelm and the collapse and the shame and the depression. It's not sticking because their nervous system is still getting all of these cues of danger from their body, from their biology, from their own mind. And so now would come the second piece. But the first piece, if I wanted them to have the fastest results in their sleep, in their energy, in their depression, anxiety, GI issues, it was these somatic self-practices where they, on their own, had learned how to shift their own state in the moment whenever they noticed that they were in the spiral of stress or overwhelm.
And is this your first book that you shared them in?
I don't go into the details of these somatic self-practices in my book, The Biology of Trauma. I'm painting the picture of, you've got to address the biology of trauma. Here's what the biology of trauma is. I actually walk through these different steps of the art narrative process of one's inner experience that even creates this damage. And then where do we start? We have to start with creating that felt sense of safety. And this is how we do that. We do that through a very specific, very deliberate and intentional process of learning to shift our inner state to a felt sense of safety.
If you enjoyed the clip from the podcast, make sure to check out the next video up here, or head over to watch the full episode down here. And before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Come on. Yeah, thanks for watching.